Disclaimer, this is a video of me reacting to someone else's Five Nights at Freddy's theory. I don't always agree with them, but that has nothing to do with how I feel about them as a person or even their channel as a whole. I have and will continue to make it clear that I am a fan of this creator, and this video is simply me providing my own opinions on their theory. This video is not trying to say that I know better or am better than this creator, it's simply me seeking out other people's opinions so that I can explain the things that I agree with, the things I don't, and so I can understand these alternate opinions whether I agree or not. Anything negative I say or any negative reaction I have towards the theory is just me disagreeing, and I will always explain my point of view. Whether you agree with my stance or the creators, please just be civil towards both of us in the comments. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Golden Freddy has been a topic of debate for nearly 10 years now, and most of the debate has revolved around who possesses the animatronic and what makes them so special. There's been a lot of talk about this topic recently, so I thought I'd make a video detailing exactly what I think about Golden Freddy, featuring evidence that you may have never heard before. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get started. While researching for this video, I've once again realized that the order the game's released in matters, especially with Golden Freddy. Scott has gone on record saying that he likes to use new games to answer questions from past games, and that's very true when it comes to Golden Freddy. This is going to be a lot easier to understand if we go game by game, so let's make a timeline. In August of 2014, we were introduced to Golden Freddy in FNAF 1, and in that game, he appeared as almost a ghostly type figure, rarely appearing on the poster outside your door, in the hallway, or in your office, surrounded by the words, "It's me." When you stare at Golden Freddy for too long, he'll jump scare you, but his jump scare is not like the rest. Instead of a full body 3D animated jump scare, you only see his head, and he crashes your game. Back in 2014, we knew with the context of the nightly phone calls and posters on the walls that kids were haunting the animatronics. Golden Freddy, though, clearly acted different from the rest, so for some reason he must have been special, but we didn't know why. Then, in November of 2014, Golden Freddy returned in FNAF 2, featuring a new design but all of the same tricks. He once again could randomly appear in your office, his head could appear in the hallway, and if you stared at him for too long, you would once again get jump scared by his floating head. As far as the lore is concerned, FNAF 2 only heightened what we already knew about Golden Freddy. We knew that he was probably one of the missing children, and we knew that Scott was trying to emphasize that there was something different about Golden Freddy, but we still didn't know why he was different. In March of 2015, we got FNAF 3, and with it, a few more details surrounding Golden Freddy. A huge chunk of the game revolved around freeing the spirits of the missing children, especially the spirit possessing Golden Freddy. After completing all of the secret mini-games and giving cake to all of the missing kids, you're able to free the spirit
it was so
of
jarring
Freddy
just now
Happiest Day mini
when I saw Happiest Day without any of the missing kids there.
That the Golden Freddy kid was different for some reason.
That's really weird.
In the end of night mini-games, you get to play as each animatronic, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, with each mini-game ending with Afton disassembling the animatronics. After the main 4 animatronics are disassembled, you play as a spirit. When you enter the safe room, it's revealed you are the 5th spirit, presumably the spirit who possesses Golden Freddy. While the other 4 spirits are blocking the door, the Golden Freddy spirit is once again being shown as different from the rest, seemingly coming off as more aggressive than the other spirits. The spirit chases Afton around the room, leading him to get into the Spring Bonnie suit and get spring-locked. 3 games into the franchise, we knew that the Golden Freddy spirit was special, seemingly being the leader of the group, shown through the Happiest Day minigame and the Afton spring-lock scene, but we still didn't know why this was the case. Cut to July of 2015 when we got FNAF 4. Suddenly, Golden Freddy, aka Fredbear, was in the spotlight. In this game, we got a huge chunk of lore, technically a different Golden Freddy, but still, and the days leading up to him getting bit by Fredbear. At the time, this didn't really give us any concrete information about who possesses Golden Freddy, mostly because it wasn't immediately clear that the crying child was the spirit possessing Golden Freddy. The main way a kid went on to possess an animatronic in this series was Afton killing them and them getting stuffed into a suit. But the crying child was different. He wasn't killed by Afton. He was killed on accident and died later from his injuries, nowhere near the Fredbear suit. Because of this, the mystery of who possesses Golden Freddy as of the release of FNAF 4 was still up for debate. In January of 2016, we got FNAF World, and right when we booted up the game, we knew that this was a continuation of the story from FNAF 4. We see the same voice from the end of FNAF 4 saying the same thing: "I will put you back together."
Not much to say so far for me.
Around the
I'm kind of just watching.
putting him back together. So what is putting the crying crying child back together even mean? Well, throughout the game, you're instructed to find clocks, and with each clock you collect, you're put into a little minigame. These minigames mirror what we see in FNAF 3. These are directly connected to the minigames you had to complete to set up the happiest day and free the spirit inside Golden Freddy. The task to put the crying child back together was actually us setting up the happiest day minigame, therefore connecting the crying child to that minigame. FNAF 4 and FNAF World were all about showing us that the Golden Freddy kid in the happiest day minigame was the crying child. The next game where we got info about who specifically actually the spirit inside Golden Freddy. The task to put the crying child back together was actually us setting up the happiest day minigame, therefore connecting the crying child to that minigame. FNAF 4 and FNAF World were all about showing us that the Golden Freddy kid in the happiest day minigame was the crying child.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it means that the crying child was that Golden Freddy kid. I think it more so just means that the bite victim was set free by Happiest Day and it was for him, but that doesn't necessarily mean he has to be Golden Freddy. It could just be, like I said earlier in the stream, that the bite victim was fragmented, like pieces of his soul were fragmented among the missing kids, so Happiest Day was about setting all of them free, and by extension, that sets the other ones free.
The next game where we got info about who specifically possesses Golden Freddy was FNAF 6 in December 2017. At the end of the game, we got an image of 6 gravestones. Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, Jeremy, one grave off to the side covered with grass, and one on the hill in the back. The graves with actual names on them represent the spirits inside the 4 main animatronics, matching almost perfectly with the FNAF 3 ending image. Freddy is Gabriel, Fritz is Foxy, Susie is Chica, and Jeremy is Bonnie. From what we've seen throughout the series, the spirits of Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, and Golden Freddy are almost always grouped together. Using that logic, this mystery grave grouped with the main 4 would be Golden Freddy, and the grave in the back would presumably be the puppet, Charlie. The big question relating to this image is obviously, why is the Golden Freddy kid's name being kept a secret? At this point, because of FNAF 4 and FNAF World, we were pretty sure that the Golden Freddy kid was the crying child. Why not just reveal the crying child's name?
Not really, because he's not a missing
FNAF
kid.
Survival Logbook, which was released literally 3 weeks after FNAF 6. This book was obviously supposed to be released alongside FNAF 6, and this is further proven by what the book was trying to tell us. It's revealed that the book was an old security logbook that once belonged to Michael Afton. It's established that Michael wrote in the book using red pen, so whenever we see a drawing or words written in red, we know it was him. But if you look closer, you can see that there's another entity talking in the book, speaking through the faded writing. They mostly ask a bunch of questions, such as, is this song familiar to you, and what can you see? But the most important thing they write is the words my name. You can see this a few times throughout the book, but most notably, you can see it written on a gravestone that Michael drew. With this book being released so close to FNAF 6, Scott was clearly using it to give us the name of that 5th spirit, the Golden Freddy spirit. And you would think that the FNAF community, one of the most dedicated and lore-hungry communities on the planet, would figure this out in no time. But looking back, that was not the case. While researching for this video, I was reminded that it literally took 6 months for the community to find the name. Reddit user Powerful One figured out that if you use the random numbers scattered throughout the book and plug them into the word search, you get Cassidy. Cassidy was the
Nobody
name of
thought it could be the word search.
Freddy. And I think it's important to point out that Cassidy only writes the words my name on pages that give us the numbers to help find the name Cassidy, solidifying to me that the name Cassidy belongs to the spirit writing in faded text. But like I said earlier, Cassidy can be seen asking questions throughout the book, and someone does respond to those questions, but it's not Mike. It's a third entity speaking in the book. When Cassidy
it's the bite victim, because it talks about like the faded text asks questions like does he still talk to you with the Fred reflection on the page, and also as the party also says the party was for you, referring to the FNAF 4 party. So it's definitely Cassidy talking to the bite victim.
They respond, I can't see, altering the text on the page. But a big question that reveals the identity of the third speaker is, does he still talk to you next to the Fredbear plush? And was your favorite childhood toy a plastic purple telephone? These questions are clearly telling us that the entity speaking through the altered text is the crying child. At this point, everyone was confused. The last few games were basically flat out telling us that the Golden Freddy spirit, especially in the Happiest Day minigame, was the crying child. And
not
now
necessarily,
we've got
like I said
this
earlier,
book telling us that there's another spirit named Cassidy who is also claiming to be the Golden Freddy spirit. We now have 2 kids claiming to be the spirit inside Golden Freddy. How can this work? Well, let's talk about ultimate custom.
See, like I said earlier, that doesn't necessarily mean that the bite victim is the Golden Freddy spirit. It just means that Happiest Day set him free. So if we think about it that way, then the bite victim doesn't have to be Golden Freddy at all. Cassidy does, because she's the fifth missing kid, and the fifth missing kid is Golden Freddy. So that means that she's Golden Freddy, and the bite victim, while he could be Golden Freddy, he isn't necessarily Golden Freddy. He can just not be. So by that logic, we could just have two separate characters. Like, the bite victim is the fragmented spirit, and Cassidy is the Golden Freddy spirit. So, I don't think necessarily it means that both of them are Golden Freddy.
Custom Night, released in June of 2018, only 3 weeks after Cassidy's name was found. At this point, everyone in the series, including Afton, was burnt to the ground by Henry in FNAF 6. Henry tried to put an end to everything, but there's one spirit who wouldn't let William Afton rest. Enter the one you should not have killed. What we learned through all of the voice lines in the game is that this kid, the one you should not have killed, does not want William Afton to rest. He wants revenge, so he's keeping Afton trapped in an.
I wonder if he's gonna say this is Cassidy or Andrew.
Him to die over.
Because I remember him like posting on Twitter saying like the parallel stuff was done, or at least like he like ripped up the word parallel, and then he posted like the Mr. Hippo quote, like maybe it doesn't mean anything at all or whatever. So what I'm wondering is he going to say that this is Andrew, or is he going to say that it's Cassidy still?
Again, you can even see the face and hear the voice of the one you should not have killed throughout the game. His face shows up randomly in the death screens, and his voice can be heard through the mediocre melody animatronics.
We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
So who is the one you should not have killed? Well, I think the final cutscene of the game gives us that answer. If you get a score of at least 9,800, you unlock the final cutscene, where we see Golden Freddy twitching with both eyes lit, fading into the darkness. This lines up directly with what we learn about the one you should not have killed. A spirit that refuses to move on, who wants revenge on William Afton.
I will hold you here. I will keep you here, no matter how many times they burn us.
To me, this...
See, the thing about this is that Cassidy is Golden Freddy, right? And she talks to Old Man Consequences. And Old Man Consequences tells her to rest and leave the demons to his demons, right? So then she goes into the pond, and then in FNAF World, her going into the you going into the pond in FNAF World leads to Happiest Day happening. So, if Happiest Day happens from that, then that would indicate that either the Cassidy was the spirit in Happiest Day, or this led to Happiest Day happening. So, what this indicates is that it's not necessarily that she was the one you should not have killed, because she's a girl. I don't necessarily think that's the best evidence. I think there are explanations for that, but I think most simply, she's a girl, and the one you should not have killed is a boy. Like I said, other explanations for that exist, but I think it just makes the most sense for her to not be the one you should not have killed. And then that allows Andrew to be. Say the Stitch line from the Phasma Frights books is in the games, then it has to be Andrew, right? And there's no real reason that the Stitch line can't be in the games. So, by that logic, Golden Freddy there, he's fading away into the darkness. That's not saying that he is the one you should not have killed. It's saying that it's Cassidy resting. Cassidy was trying to get Andrew to basically let himself rest, and then she failed. Like, Andrew didn't let himself rest, at least not at first. Eventually he did, but not at first. At first, Cassidy failed to get Andrew to rest. He kept torturing Afton, and Cassidy faded away into the darkness, giving up and letting herself rest. Whether or not she actually ends up being set free after that is questionable, because it's a princess quest, but at least she wants to, because she knows that Andrew is not going to rest. But then eventually he does. The puppet recruits him, brings him to Happiest Day or whatever. Cassidy maybe stays behind. Maybe in that case the bite victim is the Golden Freddy spirit, but not literally being Golden Freddy. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I'll probably make a theory. I'm planning on making a theory on Andrew and Cassidy and stuff in general in the future. But that's kind of the way I see it. I don't think that it's saying that Golden Freddy is the one you should not have killed. I think it's saying that Cassidy Golden Freddy tried to stop the one you should not have killed from torturing Afton, and then failed, and then gave up and left. And left Andrew to torture Afton. Leave the demons to his demons. Leave the demon to his demons is referring to Andrew. Andrew is the demon, and his demons are Afton, basically. So leave Andrew to Afton, basically, is what that means. That's how I interpret it.
This heavily implies that the one you should not have killed is not only the spirit inside Golden Freddy, but Cassidy, the second spirit inside Golden Freddy that we were introduced to in the logbook. Like I said earlier, Scott likes to use new games to answer questions from past games. Because of this, the order in which FNAF games and products are released is very important. In FNAF 6, Scott introduced a question: what is the name of the Golden Freddy kid? 3 weeks later, Scott released the survival logbook, where he gave us the answer. But even though we got that answer, the logbook introduced a few new questions. We know Cassidy isn't the crying child, so who are they? Why are they important, and how can there be two spirits claiming to be inside of one animatronic? 6 months after the logbook came out, we got
I don't think there is, but there could be.
Where we got the answers to those first two questions. All of that build-up, from the mystery grave in FNAF 6, to finding Cassidy's name in the logbook, to figuring out that Cassidy is not the crying child, but a separate character also inside of Golden Freddy, all of that build-up led us to Ultimate Custom Night, where we see this new character take center stage as the one you should not have killed. But there's still one question left. There are two spirits claiming to be inside Golden Freddy, Cassidy the Vengeful Spirit and the Crying Child. How does that work? Well, a year and a half after Ultimate Custom Night, the Fazbear Frights books started coming out. And in these books, we got the story of the Stitch Wraith, an animatronic that contains the spirits of two kids, Andrew and Jake. Andrew is revealed to be a victim of William Afton, who is very vengeful and angry. Jake is revealed to be a kid who was not killed by William Afton, but died from a brain tumor surrounded by his plushie that had a walkie-talkie inside of it. This directly mirrors what we see with Cassidy and the Crying Child. Cassidy, the more vengeful spirit, killed by William Afton.
So he's just so cool with the parallels? Where's this gonna go? I'm curious.
Wasn't killed by Afton, but died from a brain injury, both possessing one animatronic. In the Stitch Wraith stories in the Fazbear Frights books, we hear a lot about the dynamic between Andrew and Jake. We learned that they both possess different parts of the animatronic. Andrew possesses the body, while Jake possesses the head. Because Jake possesses the head, he is in control of the animatronic's movements and can see the outside world. Since Andrew possesses the body, he can't see anything or move the animatronic. What's also made clear is that they both don't remember very much about their past, and that they can talk to each other from inside the Stitch Wraith, with them mostly trying to figure out what they remember. If you haven't put it together yet, this is exactly what we see in the survival logbook. Cassidy
That's something I connected a while ago,
possessing the same animatronic, talking to each other, trying to figure out what they remember. Cassidy says, "What do you remember? Was your favorite childhood toy a plastic purple telephone?" But the most important question in the whole book is
what do you see?
Cassidy says, "What do you see?" And the Crying Child responds, "I can't see." This exactly mirrors what we see with Andrew and Jake. Quote, "Hi Andrew," Jake said. "Why can't I see anything?" Andrew demanded. "How come you can see and I can't?" In the books, Andrew, the vengeful
I noted that like
spirit,
years ago too.
The body of the Stitch Wraith and can't see. And Jake, who isn't vengeful and wasn't killed by Afton, possesses the head and can see. What the logbook is telling us though is that in the games, it's the exact opposite. The Crying Child is the one who says he can't see.
Yeah, again, that's exactly what I suggested like years
the
ago.
Body of Golden Freddy, while Cassidy, the vengeful spirit, is the one possessing the head. It's not the Crying Child in control, it's the vengeful spirit Cassidy. The Crying Child is helpless. All he can do is try to reach out and tell his brother Michael that he's there too. It's me. It doesn't stop there, though. The Stitch Wraith story establishes that a spirit needs to remember or be put into one of their happiest memories in order to move on, aka their happiest day. Towards the end of the Stitch Wraith story, Jake is able to help a bunch of kids who were killed. He does this by essentially going back to their memory of being killed and changing it, making that terrible memory into a happy one. This allows the spirits to
And that's how Happiest Day works, because like in Happiest Day, we have the Bite Victim's birthday party, which obviously went badly, and then in Happiest Day, instead, he just has all his friends there, and it goes well.
Does this translate to the games? Well, this is exactly what the Happiest Day minigame is in FNAF 3. This minigame is showing us the crying child's happiest day. In the security logbook, there's a page that talks about the happiest day, where it specifically says in bold, reflect on the happiest day of your life, with an image of the puppet handing a cake to a child. If you do what it says and take the image of the Happiest Day minigame and reflect it, what do you see? The crying child's birthday party from FNAF 4 where he got bit. Like we established earlier, the main goal with FNAF World is to set up the Happiest Day minigame for the crying child.
I wonder if that's what the mirror is for.
Have you ever stopped to question why we have to collect clocks in order to do this?
I think
it's
that's
because we are
right?
literally going back to that terrible memory of the crying child getting bit and changing it, making it so that in his mind, that terrible day was a great one.
I also think it's meant to show that it's the puppet doing that, because the puppet's song is My Grandfather's Clock.
I've pointed out throughout the years that the map of FNAF World looks like a brain. This is because we are literally in the mind of the crying child, metaphorically going back in time in his mind and changing the memory of that terrible day, turning it into a happy one and helping him be able to move on. So far, we've learned that in the games, there are potentially two spirits inside Golden Freddy, Cassidy the vengeful spirit and the crying child. In the logbook, we see them communicating for the first time, trying to figure out what each other remembers about their past. In the logbook, the crying child says that he can't see. Using what we know from the Stitch Wraith stories and the Fazbear Frights books, the crying child is possessing the body of Golden Freddy, while Cassidy is possessing the head. Cassidy is the one in full control of the Golden Freddy animatronic. Oddly enough,
I feel like there's not much for me to say here, because I don't think that the crying child is in Golden Freddy. I think Cassidy is, and I think that the bite victim is just like a fragmented spirit. So there's not really that much for me to say here other than I disagree. But like, I do get it though. Like, I understand all the points for it. I just think that if the bite victim spirit is fragmented, it kind of works just the same pretty much as if you were the bite victim, or sorry, as if you were Golden Freddy. Like, it doesn't change that much other than the it's me thing, which doesn't have to be the bite victim anyway. Like, it makes sense to be, but it doesn't have to be.
This almost
so it doesn't change
perfectly
much
with what we
otherwise.
see in the FNAF movie. Speaking of the FNAF movie, after the FNAF movie came out, Matthew Lillard spoke in an interview where he basically said that the movies are meant to help fill in the blanks of the story in the games.
Frankly, our job in that movie is to deliver lore, right? So much of the game is like fans have for so long filled in the blanks, and our job is to fill in where we can and what Scott and Emma thinks appropriate.
And I think that's especially true for Golden Freddy. The Golden Freddy kid is clearly established to be the leader of the group and is in full control of the Golden Freddy animatronic. If everything I've presented in this video is true, that would make this kid Cassidy, our vengeful spirit from the games. And if you look at the picture of the vengeful spirit in the games next to the Golden Freddy kid in the movie, they are nearly identical. But if this kid is our Cassidy stand-in, that would also mean that he's not the only one possessing Golden Freddy in the movie. Him having full control of the animatronic lines up with what we presented earlier. But is there any proof that there's a second spirit inside Golden Freddy in the movie? Well, throughout the movie, we get to see this drawing of the 5 missing children holding hands with Spring Bonnie. We've got Foxy, Chica, Freddy, Bonnie, and the blonde-haired Golden Freddy kid. But if you look closely, you can see that there's something different about the Golden Freddy kid. What's different is that his face was glued on top of another kid's face. There's another kid possessing Golden Freddy, being suppressed and overpowered by the blonde kid, just like we see in the books and just like what I think we're seeing in the games. Who is the other kid inside Golden Freddy in the movie? I think it might actually be Garrett, Michael's younger brother. And just like in the games, Michael's younger brother is helpless and not in control of Golden Freddy. All he can do is try to reach out in any way he can, trying to let his brother know that he's here too.
I could see that.
Changing people.
I could see it being Garrett and not him being Golden Freddy, and also, but like I can see that as evidence.
And making them good memories is something we see in the books and the games. And I think Scott was trying to strengthen this idea in the movie. The Golden Freddy kid is able to go into Mike's dream and change his memory of the day his brother was taken. But instead of doing this for good, he does this to trick Mike into giving up his younger sister, Abby. The movie then ends with Afton getting spring-locked and being locked away. In the minigame version of this from FNAF 3, the Golden Freddy spirit is seen as the leader of the pack and the more aggressive one. And I think the movie only strengthened that idea, with the final scene being Cassidy closing the door on Afton as he's getting spring-locked. I think it's important to encourage you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
Yes.
Because a lot of conclusions depend on how you interpret certain evidence. For example, a lot of people think that this little girl in the survival logbook is Cassidy, but I don't think that's the case. If this is supposed to be representing the happiest day minigame, that minigame, in my opinion, clearly has everything to do with the crying child and nothing to do with Cassidy. As much as I want this drawing to mean something, I don't think it does. Also, a lot of people think that the character
I think it's way
Andrew
too coincidental for it to be.
character in the games and is the one you should not have killed, not Cassidy. And I think people are valid for thinking that. I'm not going to say that the story of the Stitch Wraith is the same as the story of Golden Freddy. There are differences. But I do think that those stories are more meant to help us better understand how Golden Freddy works in the games.
I can understand that for sure.
However you want.
I don't agree, but I understand that.
Also, big shout out to MatPat, because I really do think you were on the right track with your video from 2020. This video was also written and filmed before the release of Into the Pit, and I haven't really decided how that's changed my opinion on Golden Freddy, but as of right now, my opinion really hasn't changed. Make sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Alright, that was definitely an interesting theory, I get it, for sure. I don't really agree, but I can definitely see the evidence, and I understand it. I think that, thinking that the crying child is Golden Freddy still is definitely valid. It makes sense, in some regards. I just think that the idea of him being, like, a broken spirit, like, fragmented throughout the, like, the other missing kids, I think that makes a little bit more sense, and it kind of explains more things, and still works with most of the other evidence anyway. So that's why I kind of just prefer that idea. But, like, him being Golden Freddy also works. And also, it's even possible that both are true. Like, a main chunk of his spirit could be in Golden Freddy, while, like, other pieces of his spirit could also be in the other missing kids, and in the other animatronics. Or it can just be that he is technically a part of Golden Freddy, but in the same vein that he is in all of the other animatronics too. He's in Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy because he's in all of the spirits. So he can also be in Cassidy. Sounds kind of weird out of context, but but by that logic, he's also in Golden Freddy too. So then technically speaking, there are two spirits in Golden Freddy, but there's two spirits in all the animatronics. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it doesn't have to be like that, but I think that makes sense too. So I think it can work either way, and I get the idea, and I just think that Shatter Victim, which is, like I said, the theory that the bite victim is spread amongst other, the missing kids, and has to be put back together with Happiest Day, I think that just explains a little bit more, and makes everything make a little bit more sense. There's more, things that are explained by that, and it still works with the golden duo evidence for the most part too. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, that's that reaction done. Cool.